Hey, yo, what up, man? How y'all doing, man? So, I just finished this book, Raekwon from Staircase to Stage. Is the whole book, as you can't see it. So, Staircase to Stage, Raekwon, aka Lex Diamonds, aka Raleigh Fingers, aka I like to call him Slangus Khan. You know what I'm saying? I think he said in one of his rhymes, Slangus King or something like that. So, you know what I'm saying? I told you I was gonna get it done today. We in the final hour of the day. It's like Planet Asia said, you know what I'm saying? A cipher is not a zero. It's a person, place, and thing, you know what I'm saying? Or event. So, you know what I'm saying? Shit happens basically during the day. People, places, things happen during the day. And you can never, you know what I'm saying? You can never really control your schedule like that, you know what I'm saying, when it comes to when it's incorporated with other people and things that go out throughout your day. So anyway, this book is real good. Raekwon, Staircase to Stage, you know what I'm saying? This is the back. See Lex fitted. I think he got the Wallabies on. Do we got Wallabies? I think he got the Wallabies on. I can't really tell in the dark. The Wallabies. He got the long coat. You know what I'm saying? Little trench coat. Shit going on. You know what I'm saying? He got the shades. I know Raekwon's coming out with some new shades. I don't know if those are his own shades he's rocking. You see him out in the woods. Grow a rugged beard and chill. You know what I mean? So, this book is a really good book. This book got me hot as fuck, though. You know what I'm saying? Towards the end of it, when he's talking about RZA and he was trying to secure a movie deal for Wu-Tang, and said they came out with the Wu-Tang Saga series that RZA kept pushing, and Ray had Leonardo DiCaprio basically on board with everything, and his production company was on board with coming out with a movie, you know what I'm saying? And they had like $10 million or something like that for the first one. RZA, the first movie deal that RZA came across the table with, and he wasn't even going to do a movie deal, but he was convinced to do it because Raekwon, you know what I'm saying, came up with the idea. And he was like, basically, the science behind that was that if you come out with a series, right, you're not guaranteed to have, like, say like, the producers that come up with the series, right, or the network that comes up with the series gets, you know, people in the chain get cut off, or they move on to other jobs. The series could get axed, you know what I'm saying? They could get cut off, and so that money and that series legacy is not really guaranteed. And if it doesn't catch on with the people, it's not really guaranteed. And so, you know, they were kind of following the model of NWA, you know what I'm saying, NWA's movie, because basically Wu-Tang was the East Coast NWA. That's what a lot of people kept calling them, you know what I'm saying? So they followed that model. So Raekwon wanted to come out with a movie, you know what I'm saying, all that. RZA didn't want to do it. He wanted to do the series. And they had like 3 meetings with Leonardo DiCaprio, you know what I'm saying? And Raekwon brought that to the table, you know what I'm saying? And it's just a whole bunch of bullshit, you know what I'm saying? So that got me hot. If you read it, you would get hot too. I want to bust a shot through the window, my nigga. Like, honestly, to keep it real with you, I wanted to, you know, tear shit up. You know what I'm saying? But it's kind of heartbreaking, you know what I'm saying, how Raekwon explains it, because, you know, he was on the phone with him and he went to meetings with him and everything, with RZA I'm talking about. And, you know, basically Ray had tears in his eyes because RZA wasn't being upfront with him about shit, you know what I'm saying? And he couldn't trust RZA as a brother, you know what I'm saying? So basically the book just describes Wu-Tang Clan as a family. You know what I'm saying? Wu-Tang Clan is a family. And Wu-Tang came up with the name Wu-Tang because basically, so Ghostface came from Stapleton, right? RZA knew Ghostface from Stapleton. I believe RZA knew Ghostface. I believe, I forgot how he got introduced to Ghostface, but he knew Ghostface from Stapleton. And the Stapleton guys were crazy, right? The Stapleton would come down to Park Hill, and on Park Hill, they just be, you know, beefing and causing all type of bullshit. You know what I'm saying? They were wild dudes. So I think there was a movie, a Kung Fu movie that RZA was watching, and he had the rest of Wu-Tang watching, called Shaolin versus Wu-Tang. And Shaolin was a part, Wu-Tang was the whole family, right? Wu-Tang was the whole tribe, family, however you want to describe it. In the movie, in the Kung Fu movie, it's a Chinese film, or Asian film, let me say that, because I don't know what part of China it's from. But Wu-Tang was the whole family, right? And then they disbanded into two, Wu-Tang and Shaolin, right? And Wu-Tang was the ones who were just like, they were just arrogant, ignorant, and, you know, they use sword fighting skills, right? And Shaolin was more the monks who used, like, you know, meditative practices and like ninja art, right? So they were more disciplined, and, you know, they followed like the art of fighting rather than just like sword fighting and shit like that, right? So Wu-Tang, Ghostface had a lot of cats from Stapleton projects that when he when Ghostface eventually started fucking with RZA and he became part of Wu-Tang, what they called Wu-Tang, Ghostface partners over in Stapleton were angry. You know what I'm saying? Because RZA didn't fuck with them. They only fuck with Ghost. He only fucked with Ghost. And because of that, they created their own little group called Wu-Tang something. I forgot. I can't. I'm not gonna take the time to find it in the book real quick, but you can read the book. That's the whole point of you reading the book. I'm just giving you a quick little run through of the book. So they created their own little thing called the Wu-Tang so and so, whatever, right? So it was like Shaolin and Wu-Tang, you know what I'm saying? Because Shaolin was like from Park Hill. They started to call Shaolin, like from the movie, like I said, the Chinese movie Shaolin vs. Wu-Tang, the Kung Fu film, they were Wu-Tang and once, then they disbanded into two, Shaolin and then Wu-Tang. So Shaolin was like Park Hill, right? And then Wu-Tang was like Stapleton, right? Originally, right? Because the Wu-Tang members in the film, in that Chinese film, were crazy and arrogant and ignorant, and they used sword fighting skills and shit. And Shaolin / Park Hill in New York, you know what I'm saying, from Staten Island, they were more about just like getting money and hustling and, you know what I'm saying, looking fly and all that, right? So they were more like the ninjas, and then Wu-Tang was more like Stapleton, right? So Raekwon goes into, he goes through the process of Wu-Tang's culmination, right? First, you know, everybody started out in the studio, and I'm talking about Wu-Tang. Wu-Tang is comprised of GZA, Method Man, Ghost, RZA, Raekwon, Old Dirty Bastard, Capadonna, You God, and then I think his name is Allah Mathematics, so they just call him Mathematics, right? I think his full name is Allah Mathematics. But yeah, so those 9 members, right? And so while they were in the studio creating together, they always had this friendly competition, you know what I'm saying, where they, you know, go back and forth between who got the hottest verse, who don't. Man, that verse was hot, but watch this. And it started out as friendly competition, right? And then slowly it progressed into something where, like I said, you know, RZA had most control over it. And he was dictating everything that was going on in the group. And a lot of you who follow Wu-Tang already know this from interviews that Raekwon or other members have done, or just your research on Wu-Tang. You already know that RZA is kind of like, he spearheads a lot of the things ever since the group started. And because of the group's acclaimed success and their longevity in the game and all the accolades that they've gotten, RZA has kind of tried to take credit for that, right? As explained in the book, and as you can kind of see in the Wu-Tang career, right? So RZA takes credit for most of the stuff that went on in Wu-Tang, and RZA tries to, you know, he tries to control the money with his cousin. I don't know if his cousin or his brother, Divine. Divine is in control of Wu-Tang management, right? So they handle all the deals that Wu-Tang goes through, and they get the money, right? So a lot of the guys in the group weren't getting the money they deserved, or they weren't getting the opportunities they deserved. Like a lot of them hadn't gotten solo deals, solo projects put up by RZA. To this day, they haven't, you know what I'm saying? And you already know what members those are. But, you know, Raekwon goes through, the process of that, how it was friendly competition. And then it moved to a thing where it was like more like RZA wanted to control the group and people were afraid to step up and tell RZA. And again, this is Raekwon's Staircase to Stage. You know, the rest of the group didn't want to step up and talk to RZA about it. And because they didn't want to make it an issue, they were happy with getting the money they were getting from tours and doing shows and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? You know, so the group Wu-Tang Clan is a group of brothers. First of all, that's what I want to say. It's a group of brothers, right? Everybody has known somebody before they became a group. They known each other, right? Whether it's maybe 2 or 3 people knew each other, and then another 2 or 3 people knew each other, and then another 2 or 3 people knew each other. You know what I'm saying? Separately, but they all came together through knowledge of one another, right? So they're brothers. I just want to go ahead and say that, right? So, you know, they went through a lot of shit with a lot of albums they made ever since they first got on radio, right? They first got on radio, and you know what I'm saying? I remember Raekwon talks in his book how he used to date this African girl named Candy, and you know, they were living together for a minute, and Raekwon first heard himself on the radio, and they were like, "Oh shit!" And it, you know, because he came out with Cuban Links, the famous purple tape, right? And so he was looking in the mirror at himself, you know what I'm saying, in the bathroom, and he heard himself on the radio. And Wendy Williams is like, "We got a new king of New York. It's Raekwon, you know what I'm saying? This is the new shit right now." So Raekwon was like, "Yo, you heard that, right?" And Candy was like, "Yeah, whatever," because he made her cook some grits for him, you know what I'm saying? And she was like, she didn't know how to cook grits really, right? So you know, Raekwon was trying to teach her and stuff like that. So she's a little bit miffed about that anyway. So then later on, Raekwon went and met with Steve Rifkin, who was who had Loud Records, who was the first record label to sign Wu-Tang. He got the first rights of refusal, right? And he eventually signed them and everything. And so he went to Steve Rifkin and he went to RZA, and he was like, "Yo, you heard me on the radio?" You know what I'm saying? He was juiced about it. He was hyped, you know what I'm saying? They was like, "Yeah, we fucking heard that shit." You know what I'm saying? So ever since they were first heard on the radio, and you know, they went through their whole process as a group, you know, reaching certain milestones in their careers. Raekwon was one of the prominent artists, basically it's him, Meth, and Ghost, and RZA, you know what I'm saying, that really had like solo careers that really did something, you know what I'm saying? So the rest of the group didn't really have solo careers, you know what I mean? They didn't really have the chance to build a following based on their individual talent, you know what I'm saying? And they were more like group, they were more towards what RZA would say, because that was their career. You know what I'm saying? Their career was whatever the group made is what they made, and whatever moves the group made was the moves that they made, right? So he goes through that chamber, and then let's see what else. Oh, another interesting thing about this book, Raekwon talks about his writing style. So Raekwon writes like a pyramid. I don't know if he still does this, because you got phones out nowadays and shit like that. But the reason why Raekwon's flow is so choppy and unique is because of how he writes. He starts from the corner of the page, right? So like the corner down here, and then he'll write like one word, and then 2 or 3 words, and then 4 or 5 words, and then goes up like that, right? So that's why his flow is like that, right? And him and Ghostface used to pass each other's raps back and forth to each other and say each other's raps to each other, you know what I'm saying? And just build on that shit like, "Yo, this is ill, I think this is ill, I think this is ill." And that's how they made the purple tape together, right? It was like really a group effort, right? And then so it's so many chambers he goes through with this book. You know what I'm saying? He talks about a lot. I don't have I don't know how long you can put a video in your post, but I think it's already on 12 minutes right now, you know what I'm saying? So I got to keep this nice, simple, and sweet and short, you know what I'm saying? Even though I want to talk a lot about what goes on in this book. But Raekwon is the master, the chef, and you should go get this book, man. All right, y'all. Peace.